Okay, in this video, we're going to be going over the Get Lean Speed Run using these specific protocols. All right, the reason why we want to get lean is because being at a lean, healthy body fat percentage is the healthiest way to go. It makes you look the best and it makes you feel the best. Now, you don't want to get too lean, of course, but you want to kind of have that balance, right? So, think 10 to 15% body fat is kind of ideal, or maybe around 10 to 15% body fat is pretty much ideal. So that's what we're going to be going for here. And I don't know what is going on with my screen. And act like that didn't happen. All right. So the first thing you want to do to get lean as fast as possible is just overall focus on your health. All right. You want to be eating the right foods. You want to be living a healthy lifestyle. You don't want to, be on that bullshit. Okay. All right. There's a lot of things that go into, becoming healthy, but we're going to go over the basics in this video, like, diet, training, mobility, and recovery. So, yeah, some things you can do to focus on your health, though, is, of course, going outside more, living a healthier lifestyle. So, going outside more, get like 2 hours of sunlight a day. Okay, that's going to be really good for you. Move a lot, eat the right foods, ground whenever you go outside. Try to ground as much as possible. So if you're in an environment where you can ground, which means you have your bare feet touching the ground, try to ground as long as possible, but try to shoot for like 30 minutes a day. And as soon as you wake up, I do recommend you also go outside and ground for like 10 minutes, just to kind of start the day, having your nervous system regulated, and overall just being as healthy as possible. All right. So the first thing we're going to be discussing on this Get Lean Speed Run is going to be diet. All right. So for diet, there's a lot of ways to go into this, but the most common diet you see on the internet to get lean is like usually going to be the ketogenic diet, the carnivore diet, and that's just because you you lose a lot of water weight when you do this, and that really helps you lean out a lot more. You become a lot more dry looking. So basically, what the carnivore ketogenic diet is it basically is where you just avoid eating carbs and you eat a lot of meat. You eat a lot of lamb, chicken, fish, and you basically just eat as primal as possible. You consume a lot of fat and you consume a lot of protein, but you don't really eat that much carbs. We're going to be doing this to a certain extent, but I'm going to be modifying it, and we are going to be having carbs, but we got to make sure, we're being smart with it. So the carbs you can have, okay, let's get my pen out real quick. So the carbs you can have will be oranges, right? Oranges is a great carb source as vitamin C. It's good before your workouts. All right, so oranges are a good carb source. You can have bananas. All right, it's a good banana right there. So you can have oranges, bananas. You can have sweet potatoes, oranges, bananas, sweet potatoes. You can have orange juice. That's my go-to. Go-to is orange juice. This is right, OJ. I'm trying to think of all the carbs I consume. Blueberries, or just any berries in general. Just get a bunch of berries, right? That's gonna be basically your main carb sources, all right, guys. And honey too. Just gonna write honey. So oranges, bananas, sweet potatoes, orange juice. Orange juice and oranges kind of correlate. Berries and honey. Okay, my go-to meal whenever I'm trying to get some carbs in is a yogurt bowl. So I put some Greek yogurt in there, right, for the protein, the fats, and then I add honey and blueberries for the carbs, and that's a great source of fructose carbs right there. That's mainly what we want to shoot for, fructose carbs. I know sweet potatoes might not have all that, but for the most part, you want to shoot for fructose. Also, if you want to take a step further, depending on what the season is, you can have more fruits in spring and summer and more like potato type of foods in the winter, or like beets or root type of foods in the winter when they actually grow. That's a little bit more healthier for you. But basically, just consume these for carbs, right? You can have as much as you want because it's not that bad. And just have as much as you crave, you know what I mean? And then eat a whole clean food diet. So eat a lot of meat, eat a lot of fish, chicken, eat a lot of lamb. But for the chicken, you don't want to have chicken too much just because it doesn't have that much fat. So if you're gonna have chicken, try to drink some milk on the side because milk is a great source of fat. But in dairy, that's basically all you gotta do for diet. All right, so not that complicated. It might be a little bit expensive. So if it is expensive for you, go and just eat a lot of ground beef. Okay, so instead of eating steaks, get a lot of ground beef. Just stack up on it and eat ground beef every single day. Eat these fruits every single day. They're not that expensive. Eat some eggs every single day, right? That's basically what you want to do. Now for training we're gonna be doing something different. Okay, so I know I preach on this channel, the gym and all that, but I have recently been doing a lot of calisthenics. So we're gonna be switching to calisthenics, especially for this Get Lean speed run, because doing calisthenics is gonna help burn a lot of fat. It's gonna or burn a lot of calories and fat, I guess too. It's gonna make your core pop out a lot more. And this is basically my transformation from the gym to calisthenics in like 2 weeks. So this is me going to the gym consistently, right? This is me 2 weeks into calisthenics. Right after that, I was going to the gym. As you can see, the physique looks a lot more defined. I look way more leaner, even though I'm basically the same body fat percentage. I think the reason why I look way more leaner is just because calisthenics is a great source of burning calories. You're doing natural body weight movements, and it does hit your core a lot more than the gym. Okay. The only issue with calisthenics, like the only issue I have stumbled across on with calisthenics, is that it is a little bit harder to isolate the muscle in this. You're going to be basically doing compound lifts the whole workout, but doing compound lifts your whole workout, especially for a beginner, is great anyway, right? If you're just starting out your training journey, this is really good anyways, okay? Because then you're going to be growing muscles everywhere, and then you can go to the gym in the future, like in years later, after doing a lot of calisthenics, and if you want to build that perfect aesthetic body, you can do that by just isolating muscle groups. So that's basically the main issue with calisthenics. Of course, there's ways to bypass this, get around this, but the main issue I stumbled across with calisthenics was just you can't really isolate the muscle group. Now I am able to hit all the muscle groups. It's just a lot more fatiguing whenever you're not only focused on one muscle group. Because if I'm doing like a tricep exercise, right, I still might be hitting the shoulders just because of the movement and how calisthenics kind of works. So for calisthenics, we're gonna be doing pull-ups. Okay, we're gonna be doing push-ups, right? Let me go ahead and draw a thing right here. Actually, I don't need that. We're gonna be doing pull-ups. We're gonna be doing push-ups, and there's many different forms of push-ups you can do for calisthenics. We're gonna be doing dips. And you can also get these rings right here if you want to take it a step further for your workouts. But this is all you really need. All you really need is a pull-up bar and dips in the floor. That's basically all you need. You don't really need the rings until you're later on in the calisthenics journey. This is better for isolating the muscle and doing different variations. But mainly you just want to focus on your dips, your push-ups, and your pull-ups. Okay, so I'll give you a quick little workout plan here. So I like to start my workout with just doing a whole bunch of pull-ups. So I'll do 4 sets of pull-ups, right? And then after that, body weight, of course. And then after that, if you're really strong, you can do weighted, but I don't think a lot of you guys are going to be that strong yet. So just start with body weight. Try to do 20 body weight pull-ups and then start adding weight to it. And then I like to go here to my dips or to the parallel bars, and I do a row variation, right? So I do 2 sets of those, 3 sets of those. And then I started doing regular dips, right, to hit the chest. And then I have a method where it hits the upper chest really well. So basically what you do is you basically just, what I want you to do, just put your arm up right here, and you're just going to feel, or have your arm tucked or your elbow tucked, and just put your arm up. You're going to feel the upper chest getting to stretch a little bit. That's how you want to treat the dip. You want to have that mind-muscle connection. I made a whole video on this, really, way back on this channel, but you basically just want to focus on that function of the muscle to properly do the dips so you can get as much stimulus in there as possible. And then after I do dips, I usually do decline push-ups. I do those to hit my upper chest some more. And then after that, I will go and hit some pike push-ups to hit my shoulders. And the wider, the better. So whenever you're doing pike push-ups, if you want to hit the side delts a lot more, because I know you want to hit side delts, you can do wider ones. See, this is where you kind of stumble across the issue of hitting too much muscles at once, because now, the chest and back, you're usually always going to be hitting multiple muscle groups at once. But now, like the pike push-up, for example, is going to hit multiple muscle groups at once too, when it's mainly focused on shoulders. That's where the extra fatigue comes from. And then also you got the bicep exercises. So basically what I do is I go on the dip bar, and I just treat it like a bicep curl. I go under it. I'm like right here. And I basically just had the motion like a bicep curl in my head. So that's how I hit my biceps. And then triceps, I do like this tricep workout on the thing. It's hard to explain, to be honest. That's what I do for my training. Just do calisthenics. Stop going to the gym. Do calisthenics if you want to get lean. You can always go back to the gym if you want. But if you're trying to get as lean as possible right now, don't even combine both. Literally just do only calisthenics. Okay? Also, you want to play a sport. So find a sport that you enjoy. It could be a sport you used to play a lot when you were little. It could be a sport that you want to start getting into. Find any sport to play. It can literally be anything, as long as, gets the body moving. It's going to be helping you burn fat and calories. Find a sport you enjoy and go play that. You can go find clubs. You can go to certain like for example, if it's basketball, you can go to like some random basketball court, and there can be some people there, and you can play basketball with them. And that's a workout itself. Play for like an hour or two, and you're gonna have a really good workout for the day. And not only are you having a good workout, you're also having fun. It's not like where you're running like a whole bunch of miles, right? And you're just kind of like forcing yourself to run, but you don't really want to run. You're just doing it because you have to, because you want to get lean. If you play a sport, you don't have to do that, because when you play a sport, you're going to be mainly focused on this one objective, right? So, for example, let's say it's basketball, right? You're not thinking about all the sprints that you're doing back and forth. You're not thinking about all the running, the workout you're doing. You're thinking about, how can I get the ball in the hoop? How can I stop this guy from getting the ball into the hoop, right? That's what you're thinking about when you're playing basketball. So that's the great thing about sports, is that you don't really think that you're training, right? You're having fun. You're focused on the objective of the sport, and you're not really too concerned about how much steps you're getting or any of that, okay? So just go find a sport, play a sport, have fun. That's all you really got to do for training, to be honest. Calisthenics and play a sport. So what I like to do, I like to hit calisthenics twice a week and play a sport twice a week too. So a quick little week for me would normally be like Tuesday and Friday. I would do calisthenics. And then usually like Wednesday and Sunday, I would play a sport, right? I play a sport. Whether it's basketball, soccer, football, doesn't matter. I play a sport, right? Because usually I like to give myself that time to recover, because I do some intense. Because whenever you're in the moment of playing a sport, you're in the moment. Like, you're just having a lot of fun. You end up playing way longer than you should. It's like sometimes I'm like playing basketball for like 3 to 4 hours. That's way longer than I need to. So usually I need those extra days to rest. So what I like to do is I like to just train every other day, right? So basically every 2 days I like to train, maybe 3 sometimes. That's basically the principles I follow for calisthenics and sports, okay? Because, of course, an injury would suck. If you get injured, you're not getting lean anytime soon, unless if, the diet is really working for you. Now, I guess another thing you could do is you could, just walk a lot, but no one's trying to really do that, right? We got stuff to do. Now, mobility, this is going to correlate with this is kind of going to correlate with the sports, but some extra things you can do for mobility is, plyometrics, right? So if your body's not feeling too fatigued like mine, right? Because mine gets fatigued easily, I follow all these principles. If you can, do some plyometrics, do some isometrics, right? Do a lot of stretching, so stretch like 2 to 3 times a day, right? On normal days, on days I'm not working out, I would stretch 2 times a day, first thing in the morning and right before I go to bed. If I'm working out that day, I'm going to stretch right before the workout. I should probably start stretching right after the workout too, but I don't do that right now. But if you want like the optimal results, you should probably do it after the workout too. Especially if we're playing basketball, like or in calisthenics in general too, like you just do not want to get injured at all costs. Like if you get injured, like you're going to be out for months, and that's just going to suck. Right? And like, let's say you tear like your ACL or something, it's never going to be the same again. So make sure you're stretching, make sure you're, conditioning your legs to be prepared for the load that's going to get into, or conditioning your body, like calisthenics. And some ways you can do this is just slowly start doing isometrics, right? Plyometrics, stretch a lot, and just kind of get used to doing this certain load. Like, don't overtrain. That's what I'm basically saying. Don't overtrain, and just do a lot of stretching. Get really good with your body, and this is gonna all kind of work together. Like your training, your mobility, they're all gonna kind of work together. They're working together. Basically, calisthenics is gonna help you get really good with your body. Playing a sport's gonna help you get really good with your body. And doing your stretching and your workouts is also gonna help you get really good with your body. So that's basically what you should be doing for mobility. Now, this doesn't really have anything to do with getting lean, but if you want to properly be really good at training, you should be focused on mobility. Okay. Now, finally, the final thing we're going to be talking about in this video is going to be recovery. But before we get to this, I'm going to go ahead and plug my, what's it called? I'm sick right now. My brain's not working. I ain't going to lie. I don't know if you can tell my oh my gosh. I don't know if you can tell by my voice, but I'm like sick right now. But join my program, top link in the description. There's a lot more details in there. If you're interested, I have a whole video discussing about how the program works. You know, I got a whole bunch of programs in there, right? Got some coming soon. I got some coaching. So if you're interested, go ahead and check that out. Top link in the description. But let's go ahead and finish this up. Let's go ahead and talk about recovery. Recovery, this is basically going to be only one thing you can do to maximize your recovery. Of course, stretching is good too. And of course, there's some little things you can do. But the main thing you should be doing for your recovery is just sleeping, okay? Sleep or be in bed 10 hours a night minimum, okay? Be in bed. You don't have to sleep 10 hours. Just be in bed for 10 hours a night. So what I've been doing is I've been going to bed at 8 p.m., right? And waking up around like 6 a.m., okay? But sometimes, now that I'm in my summer break, I can, sleep in. So sometimes I might be like 8 p.m. to 7 a.m., right? So if you're still in school, of course, you should still try to do this. So, for example, if you're in school, what I was doing this school year is I was waking up at 6 a.m. I was going to bed at 8 p.m. consistently. Okay, of course, there's stuff that gets in the way of this, but if you can, try your best to do this. Okay, it's going to be best for your, mental performance during the day. It's going to be best for your physical performance. It's going to be best for you in general. All right, you're going to have way better school days too if you just start, getting more sleep. No one likes to wake up sleep deprived, and no one wants to wake up to that alarm clock and wanting to go back to sleep, but you can't because you got school or work. Instead, just go to bed earlier and then wake up naturally. That's what I've been doing. And now I can sleep a little bit more now that it's summer, but I'm basically still waking up at the same time, right? Like, I'm waking up maybe like 30 minutes later. It's not that big of a deal, not that big of a difference. So just be in bed for at least 10 hours a night, okay? Depending on your age, you might need to be in bed longer. So if you're older, you probably don't have to be in bed as much. If you're younger, you probably got to be in bed a little bit more, okay? So just figure out what works best with your schedule, how long it takes to get ready for the day, and yeah, just make it yourself, really, for the sleep schedule. So I recommend you set an alarm clock for sleeping. So that's what you should be doing. Set an alarm clock for sleeping, and then set an alarm clock for waking up if you're in like a school year or a work year. But if you're just work year, yeah, when you work, you always work. I'm chatting. But during like the summer, you can just set an alarm clock to go to bed and then just wake up whenever you wake up. And then during the school year, you set an alarm clock to go to bed and set an alarm clock to wake up. All right, that's how you avoid, getting like no sleep, and that's how you avoid sleep deprivation, and that's how you maximize your sleep and your recovery. Because sleep is the main thing that drives recovery. Some extra things you can do to fix your sleep is, you can get your circadian rhythm right. So back to the beginning of the video, go outside first thing in the morning, ground, look at the sun, really take in that, because that basically sets your circadian rhythm right. Before you go to bed, have a really dark room, okay? So get some blackout curtains. These are not blackout curtains behind me. I need to get some. It has been, messing with me a little bit because, it's got light pointing right out. And at 8 p.m. in the summer, it's still bright outside, so yeah, I don't really like that too much. So I gotta get some blackout curtains for sure. But get some blackout curtains. Make your room pitch black, okay? Make your room really cold, okay? So I turn the temperature down right before I go to sleep. And I have the fan on right in front of me, so I'm cold. Think about it in the winter. The winter, how you're always like sleeping really deep is because it's always so cold outside and stuff like that, right? It's a lot colder, but in the summer it's a lot harder to fall asleep sometimes. You don't sleep as much because it's warmer. So the colder, the higher quality sleep you're gonna get, basically. Like I woke up this morning and I felt so cold stepping out because I'm just like, because it's so cold in my room, right? But that's what you gotta do to maximize your sleep. Get as much sleep as possible. Now, some extra things you can do for recovery is, of course, you dial in the diet. Okay, this is gonna be very important. You get a lot of protein and stuff like that. Mainly protein. I forgot to say one thing about the diet too. So if you made this far in the video, you're gonna get a little bonus tip. But for diet, you want to make sure you're probably digesting these nutrients. So how you can do this is you basically don't eat these huge meals. So don't have a huge breakfast. Instead, split the breakfast like in halves, right? So split every meal in halves. Eat a lot of food, still if you want, but basically just have little meals but the same calories throughout the day. Okay. So for example, instead of having like, let's say for breakfast you normally have like 20 eggs, right? Instead of having 20 eggs, have 10 eggs for your first meal, and then have another 10 eggs like an hour or two later, so you can properly digest the eggs in the first place. Because you don't want to just overload on food because it's just not doable. So how you can probably do this is you can split up the meals throughout the day. That's how you can properly digest your food. And if you want to take it a step further, you can also go for like walks right after. And that's how you're going to really digest the food properly. Okay, especially when you're full. So I forgot to say that. But yeah, diet, you want to have a lot of protein, fats, and carbs. You want to have that good balance for your recovery. Mainly protein is going to be the main driver for your recovery though, because it recovers the muscles. That's why you see all these stupid products on the internet that has like protein pancakes, protein bars, protein cookies, protein donuts. You just see all this ridiculous stuff with protein, just a whole bunch of marketing. This is mainly because everyone's on top of it because it supports your recovery. But realistically, you shouldn't be doing that because you're only getting protein. You need to have a balance of protein, carbs, and fats. I know I said in the beginning of the video, you don't really want to have too much carbs, but you should be eating these carbs all the time, okay? No issue with that. And finally, some other things you can do is you can like hop in a sauna, right? Of course, you can swim. Swimming is a really good form of recovery. You can hop like in the steam room, or you can do contrast showers. So you can literally do contrast showers at your house. Basically, what that is you turn the water hot for like a minute, then turn it cold for a minute, and do that like back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Doing that before bed is really going to help. And go outside a lot, get some grounding, and just ultimately live a healthy lifestyle. If you do all these things, if you focus on your health, you focus on your diet, right? You eat pretty primal, you train with calisthenics, you play a sport, you do mobility, you do recovery, you dial in all these things, you're going to get lean. Depending on where you're at right now, I can guarantee you're going to get lean in the next month. Depending on where you're at, though. If you're like way overweight, this is going to take a lot more time. But if you're like me right here, you're going to get insanely lean. Of course, I was already lean here, but like I got way more lean looking here. You know what I mean? That's what happened. Like this is 2 weeks in calisthenics. 2 weeks into this protocol, I did this. All right. So if you found this video valuable, drop a like, subscribe, turn on post notifications so you can never miss the upload. And I'll see you in the next one.